What's up, Circled? Just as I finished uploading my last video speculating wildly on when the ICO would be released, the madmen did it. The Squad ICO goes live at version 6 on September 27th. It's pretty obvious that OWI waited to push the announcement until after I made that video, just so they could troll me. Well played, gentlemen. I ain't mad though. Over the last 3 months, I was clearing my schedule to hop into the playtests. Now that all's said and done, and OWI seems to be happy enough with their overhaul, let's go. Feed the masses. I gotta say, it was a pretty savvy way to conduct such a major update. The early playtests were basically just the Wild West, very rough around the edges with a lot of players relearning the mechanics to a game they already loved. The bi-weekly feedback seemed to have allowed the design team to steer their product, collecting bug reports, and give the players time to process and digest the biggest changes. I definitely noticed that the quality of games was improving with each new playtest as people collectively adapted. A part of this, I'm sure, is that because I didn't enjoy Vanilla Squad, I was basically having to learn the game as I went. That said, by the time the last playtest came around, every squad I was in was playing together and communicating well. OWI is trying to capture lightning in a bottle, in a sense, by trying to promote emergent teamwork without implementing gamified point systems. And I think they might have pulled it off. You just can't play this game as a lone wolf anymore. You're flat out less effective, and just won't have as much fun. If you join a squad, grab a marksman kit, and then dip out and run solo, what will happen is you'll run into an enemy squad, and then what? Let's say you shoot well, maybe you drop 3 of them, but there's 4 more right behind them, and they'll suppress you, and then move on you and mop you up. And then they all revive each other, -1 ticket. In their post-ICO dev blog, OWI says, "We saw an increased back-and-forth capture and gunfight dynamic, resulting in more engaging and intense moments on the battlefield." And this is absolutely true. They're not just saying that. I had some truly fantastic rounds on Fallujah and Gorodak that saw some pretty climactic firefights and tense situations. We're seeing fewer pickoffs and headshots, and in general a much higher volume of fire. This has a snowball effect on other things, because when 2 squads are exchanging bullets and fighting for fire superiority, everyone within 300 meters can hear it, and battle lines develop around the hotspots. Opposed to previously, one squad will get wiped pretty quick, and there's no chance for a front line to develop. In this sense, fights are less sporadic and develop more gradually, and the overall flow of the game seems more organic. And when firefights develop organically, it allows for players to react more intuitively, and it feels better. They also said, "We're extremely delighted to witness an extraordinary level of participation from the community, with a level of engagement shattering all previous records for public testing in Squad's history." Not gonna lie, this warmed my heart a little bit. The fact that servers were full every weekend during the playtests, player counts were off the charts, and the Discord was constantly filled with people arguing about cheek welds and run speeds. Well, it's good for the design team to know that there's a huge interest for this somewhat niche flavor of FPS. The milsim-adjacent, firearm-obsessed, team-play-oriented LARPers really showed up for this one, boys. This has got to be motivating in the best way possible for the OWI team, and that bodes well for the future of the game. My favorite and probably the most impactful change the ICO brings is the suppression effects. The blur, the aim punch, it all works so well together to genuinely brush back or pin down an enemy. If you haven't played the ICO yet, you'll see what I mean pretty much immediately. If you're exposed and you're starting to get shot at, you won't even think about it. You'll just move for cover, while at best only being able to return fire in a general direction in hopes to ruin their sight picture of you as you flee or take cover. It really makes fights kinetic and visceral. There's also the nerfs to scoped weapons, with increased ADS times and sway being tied to stamina/stability. One of the reasons I hated Vanilla Squad was the number of times you get popped in the head while running full sprint by someone far enough away that you didn't even hear the report of the firearm. I'm sure there's some incredible marksmen in the armed forces, but your average Joe Schmo soldier absolutely cannot reliably hit a running target in the head at 75 meters. When weapon handling is too crisp and responsive, you start to encourage high-precision, Quake-style FPS mechanics. No thank you. Now, if you climb to a roof without being seen, go prone, set up your lines, spot somebody, and then bring up your rifle, you're looking at about a 1 to 4 second delay between finding the target and pulling the trigger for a guaranteed accurate shot. You can feel the effect this has on gameplay pretty much immediately as you move around the map. But it's not heavy-handed either. Rifles are still very deadly, and you'll still take hits from long-range shots. But one-shot kills are far less prevalent, and when it does happen, you kind of have to give it to the shooter. They likely had set up their lines, established a stable base of fire, and waited for your ass, and they deserve the kill. When I did try playing Vanilla Squad, you get popped in the head, I just roll my eyes. But now when it happens, it's kind of like, alright, touche, motherfucker. Another one of the subtly genius changes I like is how bullets go where the rifle is pointed, which sounds stupid to say, but apparently a lot of games don't model that correctly, and it has a deceptively huge impact on close-quarter fights. When you sprint, your soldier will drop his rifle down and swing his arms. If you then round a corner and pull the trigger, there's about a half-second animation where the rifle goes from being pointed down and left up to the center of the screen where you're trying to shoot. That means your rounds are shooting the wall or ground before coming up to your target. If your target in this scenario was simply walking, or even worse, was aiming down sights and inching forward, he's basically got at least a half-second lead on you to pull the trigger, and that's huge. It's such an elegant way to punish run and gun. Sprinting has a purpose, but it has its drawbacks. It's a decision that has to be made with trade-offs and consequences. On a battlefield, every decision will have a consequence. Moving leaves you exposed, but opens up angles and flanks. If you're moving, you can't return fire nearly as effectively. From the other hand, if you're shooting, you're broadcasting your location and you can't move. It's a simple sort of rock, paper, scissors that incorporates a more cerebral sort of strategic thinking and planning. It's not just hold shift and click heads. At the end of the day, I don't care what anybody says, the ICO significantly raises the skill ceiling to this game, and it's going to be awesome. Thanks for watching and listening. If you feel so inclined, you can feed the algorithm with a like or a comment. It'll be our little secret.